Yeah. So before we start with like what is Docker and all, anyone having, do you have like any idea uh, regarding Docker and why we use it? Okay. So when you think of like your application, consider any application like the server we created. So when you want to run this application, you create the executable out of it, right? So you want to have the server as an application. You run your go build command, and it will generate an executable so that you can run on some particular machine. Okay. So if you generate the executable on a Windows, like by saying go build, so go build server 2.go. So you get an exe file uh, which has the entire code inside it. Okay. So this exe file is only executable on a Windows machine having the specific architecture as I am having, right? So if it is a 32-bit machine, it won't run. Or if it is some other flavor of Windows, like some old version of Windows, this may cause like issue while running this exe file. Okay. So same thing happens when you generate, like you develop some application and you generate a binary file, and you give it to the deployment team so that they deploy on their servers, right? So you develop some application on your machine running any OS, and your say production server has a Linux on it, and you want to run that binary on Linux. So along with your exe, there might be some dependencies which you may have installed and you haven't given to them, or you haven't told them. So when they tried to run this binary on their server, it started crashing. Okay. So what so they had to like install all these dependencies after seeing those errors, and then the server might start or might not start. Okay. So to cope up, like to solve these issues, uh, this Docker is an alternative, right? So what they have come up is, you create a image. So image is like a package where you have the complete set of dependencies, your application, and all the list of instructions to run your application. Okay. So you bundle your application inside an image, and then you give that image to your team which deploys that image on the server. Okay. So once they have their Docker set up on their server, they can easily run this image without any problem. Okay. So everything related to that application is inside that image, and you just have to run a simple command, say docker run, and you are ready to go, like your application is up. Okay. So uh, so if you see this example, uh, I guess it is bit blurry. Okay. So what happens is, you have your OS, say it is a Windows or a Linux, and you install Docker on the top of it. Okay. So when you create an image and you give it to the deployment team, they run that image and you get something called as container. Okay. So your container is a running instance of your image. So image is like a file, or what you can say, a bundle for your application, and container is actual running the application. Okay. So when you run a container, it is closely packed. It has its own processes, it has its network interfaces, and it has its own mounts or volumes, or you can say, considering a local system, it is the disk which you can say is inside the container. So everything is inside a container, and your application is running inside this. Okay. So to start like multiple instances, you can run the same image and you will get multiple instances of your application running without any problem. Okay, so is the next image. Like this. So if you have a web server written in Node.js and you have a database in MongoDB and you have messaging system in Redis, so all of them might be having different libraries and different dependencies. Uh, so all of that is contained inside a container, and your Node.js is running inside one container, your MongoDB is running inside other container, right? And everything can be connected afterwards by sharing their ports and by sharing their network interfaces, but their internal libraries and dependencies which are necessary are contained inside this, so you don't have to worry about installing this on your OS, right, on your machine where it is running. So what happens is, what Docker does is it does not create a new OS for this container. What it does, it shares the same OS kernel with the containers. Okay, so like if you have so since operating system is also a software, you can take an example of like different Linux based operating systems. So this is like Ubuntu, Fedora, and CentOS and all. So if you want to run this OSs on the top of Ubuntu OS, okay, so the Docker is able to run this because all of them have the same OS kernel, which is Linux, right? So you can run the containers having the same like based on same OS kernel. Okay, so if you try to run a Windows based software on this, it should not work. uh, so so if you think like if there is an Linux, if your OS is an Windows based OS and you want to run Linux based software on this OS, so what you usually do is uh, you have a VM or a hypervisor installed on your Windows machine. Okay, so when you install a software called like when you install a software like Docker Desktop, so what this does is it creates a Linux virtual environment for you on the top of Windows OS kernel. Okay, so this is your Windows OS kernel, and your sorry, the OS kernel is below this between the hardware and the hypervisor. So it may be a Windows. So on the top of it, the hypervisor will create a Linux OS for you, a virtual machine for you, and then you have the Docker to run your Linux based applications on the top of it. Okay, so like I have a MongoDB server. Okay, so it may be uh, based on some Linux image. So I am still able to run it on my Windows machine because I have this Docker Desktop installed. So it creates a Linux virtual environment for me, and then the Docker on the top of it will be able to run this because then I have a Linux kernel run for running this MongoDB. Okay, so the basic thing that you should know about Docker is you create a image or a container, and you have your application and the dependent libraries and other dependencies inside it, so that your host machine is not worrying about having the specific version of your libraries and dependencies to run your application. Okay, so everything is packed inside one thing, one box, and you are just running it on the top of Docker, so that your OS is not troubled like having specific version of libraries. So, say if database this MongoDB and Node.js are using say a dependency D1, of other versions. So this is taking D 1.4 and this is taking D 2.4. So it is very difficult to install both these dependencies on the same OS, right? So you can have this dependency inside this container and the other in a separate container, and you can run it using Docker. Okay. uh, Guys, like, did I make any sense out of it, or is it good, or you have some doubt regarding it? Like anyone? So just to take an example of a Docker file. Okay. So first, when you install your Docker, there are few commands you can try out uh, to see if uh, to like check if your Docker is running or not. Okay, so if you have correctly installed your Docker, so you should be able to see all this manual kind of page when you run just the Docker command. So we have few commands to like organize the containers and to stop a container. So the first command you should know is a docker ps command. So this will list all the running containers. Okay. uh, and if there is no running container, you want to view all the stopped containers or something, so you can run ps minus a, so it will list all the containers. So if you see, the statuses are exited, right? So nothing is running as of now. Then to run a particular okay, so you have to like install say MongoDB or some database on your machine, right? So what you can do is, there is a uh, an open or a public store called Docker Hub. So on this you will find all the public images for all the various softwares you will ever need. So like most of the companies nowadays, like application developing companies, have their Docker images on Docker Hub. Okay. So if you search for a particular software, you should be able to find their Docker images on it. And if you want to install it, you just run this command docker pull and the name of the image. Okay. So if I try to run this, so since I already have this, it should not take much time. So what this is doing is, it is like contacting the docker hub, and it is trying to download this image on my machine. Okay. So once everything is pulled from the docker hub and extracted, I should see this image inside my inside this docker images section. Okay. So it is similar to installing a software, but uh, just you are pulling the image instead of the actual software exe setup. Okay. So if I just, so it is downloaded, right? Everything is pulled completely, and I get this message that downloaded the newer version of Postgres. So if I want to see if it is downloaded correctly, uh, we have the command called docker image ls. So it should list all the images you have on your local machine. Okay. So this was the images that we just downloaded, right? Postgres latest image. Okay. And you also get like when it was created and what's the size of it, and other things. Okay, so if you want to run an image, the command to run is okay. So instead of like running the entire Postgres, I have a like smaller image called whale say. So what this does is it just like prints the text. It draws a whale kind of thing on your terminal, and it prints the name on the top, like whatever text you pass in. Okay, so to run this, what you can do is you can write this command docker run followed by the name of the image you have, and it takes some like arguments. So the first one is the command to run on this image, and the second is the text that you want to print. Okay, if I run this, so this will run the docker image. It draws the whale and it prints whatever I written after this. Okay, so this is how you run a image. Okay, so when I did this, the docker created a container. So this was just an image, right? It is just a template. So when I do this docker run, docker created a container for me. I'll just clear this, and then I'll do a docker psa. Okay, so if you see this, this was the command that we fired, cow say hello. This is the image that was used, and this is the container id. Okay, so container, as I said, is a running instance for an image. Okay, so image is this, but our container is a running instance, so it has a separate id. And if you don't specify the name to a container, docker will give some uh, random names to it. So this was called thirsty Einstein. Okay, so this was done by docker. And then you also get some status like it exited 32 seconds ago, created 34 seconds ago. So since this image is not something like a server or something, it will just execute and end. So if you don't want this to stay on your machine, so this will consume some space on your disk, right? So if you want to remove this, you can run docker rm followed by the you can either specify the name like the thirsty Einstein, or you can specify this container id. So even for container id, you can just specify the first 3-4 characters, and if it is successful, you should get this same thing printed, and that means that it was successful. And then if you see that the container is gone, right, so it is deleted from my disk. So similarly, when we do image ls, and if you don't want some specific image on your machine, you can delete this image uh, using docker rmi. So for container it is rm, for image it is rmi, followed by the name of the image, or you can specify the image id as well. And then if you do this, it should delete that image. And if you do this image ls again, so that latest one is gone, this is our old version, right? uh, then also there is one more image that I wanted to show you. So when you have this docker install, it will prompt you to run this hello world just to check the installation. So if I run this hello world image, so it tried to find it locally, so it could find it, and then it ran the image. So this prints hello from docker. But the main thing to that I ran this image for is the steps. Okay, so it tells you how this docker ran this image. Okay, so the first step is the docker client, which is the docker desktop I have, contacted the docker daemon. So docker daemon is a service running on your machine. So docker daemon will try to find this image which we want to run first on your local machine, and if it could not find, it will try to pull it from the docker hub for the specific machine AMD 64. So this is 64-bit. Therefore, it is trying to find an image which will run on 64-bit or compatible with 64-bit. Then the Docker created a new container from that image. So it got the image, which is a template kind of thing, and it created a container which is the running instance of this image. Okay, so which runs the executable. That is, it ran the application and prints the output that we are reading, right? So this hello world from Docker, hello from Docker, and the other things are printed due to that image. Okay, and then it like says you can run some more images and you can find the other documentation here, other images at hub.docker.com and documentation at this page. Okay, so let's say if I want to run a Ubuntu OS straight from my terminal, so I can do that using docker run -it. So -it will like start that connect that image to your terminal. So connect terminal to that image. So I have this Ubuntu OS pulled in, and I'll run the bash command so that my terminal is connected to the terminal of that image. Okay, so once I run this, I'm inside my Ubuntu OS, and if you see, uh, it's so you can see it is an Ubuntu machine uh, running version 20.4.2 LTS. Okay, so I'm inside a Ubuntu machine, so you can uh, create any application inside it, or you can use it as OS straight from your terminal. Okay, so to close this you can exit, and I exited from this. And if you see the docker ps command again, you should see this, like the container was running for Ubuntu image for 49 seconds, right? So once you are able to run your like already created images, you can try to build your own image using a docker file. Okay, so to create a docker file, you create a normal file having this name, so capital D docker file, and inside it you have some commands. Okay, so what I did is, we had that Gorilla server thing running right last time, so I tried to create a docker file for it, so I can create an image out of it. Okay, so this is not an image, this is just a docker file to create that image. Okay, so what I did is, I took this base image. So you can take any image, you can take Windows image or a Linux image or any other image. So I took this Golang image, which is also available on Docker Hub. So this is my base image. So I said from Golang latest, so it will take Golang as my base image. I created a work directory, so my current working directory is /app. Then I copied the, so if you see, I have go mode and go some, so these are my dependencies, right? For this server, these are my dependencies. So I copied these dependencies inside my docker file. Then inside my docker image, then I ran this go mode download. So all the packages that I mentioned inside this will be downloaded inside that image. And then I copied all the downloaded images. So Gova download will download it on my machine in the current folder, and then it will copy it to the image. So dot to dot is source to destination, everything it is copying. Then I'm running this go build -o main and dot, so it will run this main.go file, and it will create a executable out of it. And this step is an optional thing. So since I have a server running right at 9000 port, so I'm exposing this 9000 port to the outside world. Okay, so this is necessary because as I showed you in this picture, uh, okay, so this container is closely packed. Okay, so you cannot expose any like you cannot directly communicate between two containers unless you expose some ports or some network interfaces, right? So this is the thing of exposing the port, so that my port 9000 inside my container is accessible outside the container as well. Okay, and finally I ran this command dot slash main to run this executable. Okay, so to create an image from this docker file, what you need to do is, so I am in this folder now. uh, so the command for building an image is go build -t, so that during the build all the logs will be printed on your terminal, and you will give some name to the uh, image. So say my gorilla server, and since your docker file is inside the same directory, you will specify a dot, or if it is under some other directory, you will specify the path for the docker file. Okay, and if you run this, it will start building it, right? So it will run one step after other. Okay, so if you see, this is our copy step. This was our from Golang latest, right? So this is the first step. Then you created a working directory, then you copied the go mode go some files, you ran the go mode download, you copied everything inside the image, and you ran this go build main command, and your steps are ready. So once you run this image, so until this everything is done, right? So once you run this image, these two commands will execute. So it will expose 9000 port and it will run this executable. Okay, so our image is ready. If you want to see if it is actually built, so you can do the same command docker image ls, and you should see this my gorilla server right here, which was created 54 seconds like just now. So to run this image, it is similar to what we did for the hello world or the railsay command. So docker run followed by the name of your image, and then it has started printing everything, right? So I started http server on localhost 9000, the same thing as we did for like running the normal main.go file. But so if you try to go to this port on your browser, you will see that it is not able to communicate, right? So there is nothing running on port 9000. But if you see here, we can straight away see that it is running, right? So what we missed here is, even though we have exposed that port inside our docker file, your container is still not exposing it to the outside world. Okay, so to expose a particular content port along with run command, you have to specify a flag called p or minus minus port, and you map the port you want to expose to the outside world. Okay, so this is the port, the one on the right is the port that is running inside this container, so it is 9000. So if you want to map it to some other port, you can give another port number here, so that the outside, the actual port on this machine is mapped to the 9000 port inside this container. Okay, so just for like checking, we'll map it to 9000 only. And if I run it now, like if I refresh this page, I can see this output, right? Welcome to server using Gorilla Mux. So similarly, if you want to change this port number to say 9010 and run it, Okay, so inside the container it will still run on 9000 port, but outside, if you see now, okay, I have it running on some other port. If you see, I have two Gorilla servers, one running at 9000 and one running at 9010. So I'll just stop this older one. So to stop a running container, we say docker stop and the container ID or the name of the container. So now if I do a docker ps, I have only one Gorilla server running at 9010. Okay, so if I refresh this, so there is no server running at 9000, but if I do 9010, I have a server connected. Okay, so this is how you like map the ports inside the container to the actual machine running. Okay. So this also shows like you can run the same image on multiple ports, and you can have a load balancer on the top of it, so that your incoming traffic gets divided between multiple instances of the same application. Okay. Then yeah, that's it, I guess. Yeah. So if you want to have like a detailed tutorial kind of thing on Docker, you can check this link. And I guess that's it for regarding Docker. Okay. So do you have any doubt regarding this Docker file or the commands we saw to create a Docker image? Like this commands are like very straightforward. So you just get a base image, you create a new directory inside it, you copy your dependencies, you download your dependencies if any, and then you create a executable, and this is when you run your application, it will expose this port and it will run this command. Guys, can we have like a single word from anyone, like if you understand or not understand?
Yeah, we got it.
So the other thing which I wanted to show you today was the second takeaway assignment which we had. I'll just try to open it. Where's the second assignment? Okay, so this assignment was related to interface, right? So, has anybody completed this, or do you have any doubts regarding this? Like, if you are completed, you can share it today, or we can wait for one more day. Uh, so, I'll just try to explain what was needed inside this. So we required a package called calculate and have a file called paycalculator.go inside it. And inside this pay calculator we have an interface called pay calculator, and inside it we had just one method called calculate pay. Okay. So to create a package, you create a new folder, say named calculate, and you have a package statement called calculate. Then this is the interface which was needed, pay calculator with the calculate pay command method, having this definition as input as int64 and output as float64. Okay. Then you create two structures, one for permanent and one for contract employee. So permanent employee has some 5 fields, say ID, name, the basic pay, the variable pay, and the health plan. uh, and then you create another struct for contract employee. So contract employee just has employee ID, name, and the basic pay in hourly rate. So these are the structures for them. So you have a permanent employee structure, your ID is string, a name is string, so everything was given here, right? What is string and what is an integer. You just have to create these fields. And similarly for contract employee, you create its fields. Then you have to implement this calculate pay. Okay, so this calculate pay method has to be implemented on both this permanent and contract employees. So for permanent employee, you have this receiver PE as permanent employee, and you have the calculate pay. So the definition would remain the same. So it is taking in 64 and it will give float 64. And this will be the logic for calculating the pay rate. So since our basic pay, variable pay is coming monthly, and health pay is coming per 3 months. So what I did here is I access the PE.health plan for this particular uh, permanent employee object. So PE.health plan divided by 3 will give the monthly health plan amount. So this is your monthly health plan amount, and your monthly salary will be basic pay plus variable pay plus the monthly health plan amount. Okay. So if you see here, what I did is if you directly divide this health plan by 3, so since health plan is an integer, and if you divide it by another integer, you should get the value in the integer format, so the decimal places will be lost. So you have to convert this health plan into float first, and then you divide it so you get the decimal part of it. And when you try to add a float with a integer, it is like it will give a compiler error. So it is not possible to add different data types in the same statement. So what we did here is we converted the basic pay and variable pay from integer to float here, and then we added this float value, which was monthly health plan, and you should get the monthly salary. And then you, depending on the months that we have inside this calculate play, so if you pass 12 in it, so you should multiply it by the monthly salary, and then you should return that value as float. Okay, so since month is an integer here, you have to convert it to float again, so that your monthly salary does not lose its decimal part, and there is no compilation error. Okay. And in case of calculate pay for contract employees, you just have the basic pay in hourly rate. So you take just 8 hours for 20 days every month. So monthly salary will be equal to your basic pay into 160. Okay, and then you multiply it with the number of months, so you should get the value. Okay, so to use this, so the second step was to create your main file, right? You create a main.go under the same project, and you create an interface for per you. This should be a variable, I guess. I'll correct this. So you create a variable for permanent employee, and you create a variable for contract employee. You have these values inside these fields, and then you call the calculate pay for both of them to print the values, to print the yearly salary. Okay, so we have a main dot go in here. So I imported this calculate package here. So calculate dot permanent employee. I assign the values that we had in the question. So employee ID, name, the basic pay, variable pay, health plan, and similarly for contract employee, created a variable and I assigned those values, and I straight away called the PE dot calculate pay for 12 months and CE dot calculate pay for 12 months. Okay, and just printed it. So this was the solution that was needed for the takeaway to assignment. Okay. So was there any question regarding any of this part? Okay. Okay. So we have like 15 minutes more to end this session. So if you want me to take any part that we left, or if you have any doubts, you can tell me.
We need in the Docker section, right?